One, and we're live. Today with me is my friend Ingrid.
Hello, hello.
This episode is going to be a little bit different. Rather than talk about Ingrid, we decided to pick a topic and discuss that topic and based on our opinions, humbly so. And so the topic we picked today is marriage from the eyes of single millennials. So how are you doing, Ingrid?
I'm good. Haven't seen you in a while, but I'm good. I'm good. How
It's
are
been a
you?
year. Good, not bad, not bad. Now that I'm starting this podcast, it's like this is really cool for me because this is actually the first episode that I launch as part of a discussion rather than
Mhm.
have it as an interview process. So I'm glad we're kicking it off with such a small topic, right? Um, so,
I'm
but
very excited to be on it too.
yeah, so let's start with what do you think? How do you think marriage has changed from a decade ago to now, from the previous generation to our generation as millennials?
Wow.
Just to kick it off.
Marriage is always such a big topic. And I think it's always different with like different generations because like there's a lot of other factors that play into how people perceive it and
Mhm.
how people expect or like how they manage it, right? But especially for our generation, I feel like it's a lot more complex compared to the previous generation in a way. Like even with something as simple as like long distance relationships, that does like, right, like it's a
I think
lot
it changed.
more.
I think it changed a lot because previously you know you when you got married, let's say in the previous generation or generation before, you didn't have social media impacting
Mhm.
what you see, and so I think your perception
Yeah,
of what a good relationship should look like is what you see on Instagram and all these things. And at the same time, Instagram doesn't really show you behind the scenes, right? You only see
yeah,
the front
it's
that
always what people
people.
choose to show you.
Exactly. And so you have subconsciously this belief that, okay, if I need a perfect relationship, then I need to be traveling, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that. And it's just makes it harder to be in a good relationship or be in a sound relationship.
There's just a lot more noise and like other people's opinion that comes into play because in the older days it's just you and your other half, right? But now there's social media, there's all these like expectations or like what you assume or what you want out of it. So it's more like ticking off boxes just because everyone else is doing it. So you want it to feel like you're doing the same thing to be
Of
happy.
course, it's kind of like structuring what a relationship should look like than what a relationship really is. But I think that also stems, I think before we even talk about marriages, I
Mhm.
think that the foundation of a relationship is having two people come together knowing that they love themselves, they're happy with themselves, and they're their own individual. Before a marriage or a relationship, I think each individual should focus on themselves at first and foremost and realize that happiness doesn't come from someone else, but rather from you. And
Yeah.
then once you're fully happy, aware of yourself, and have experienced different relationship, have experienced life, you've built some experiences, you understand what you like, what you don't like, what motivates you, what doesn't, and what
Mhm.
characteristics you'd be looking for in a different partner, then you're able to build a solid relationship. And you both have to go in with the understanding that I am my own individual, but I'm choosing to
Mhm.
share my life with this person. And so
Yeah.
you come together rather your life becoming theirs and vice versa. Because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people today look for a partner for salvation or for, you know, like feeling better and happiness. And I think that's wrong.
I think that's really unhealthy.
Mhm.
And I think with that's the problem, right? Because everybody just like expects that their other half should have all these qualities. But instead, we should change the mindset into thinking more like we should learn from each other,
Mhm.
like learning from each
It's
other
also
and
not
like
their
growing together,
responsibility.
right?
It's also not their
Exactly.
responsibility to make you happy. It's their responsibility to, I don't even put it as responsibility because love is effortless, right?
Mhm.
So
It should feel
it's not a
easy and
take,
natural.
it's rather
Like,
a
yeah,
give. It's a
yeah.
give with no expectation. So therefore, like it shouldn't be my responsibility to take from you the healthy bits and make myself better while I'm putting you down. Because in the end, you have to realize that this is a different individual with their goals, dreams, and everything, and you're coming together. So you should be supportive rather than pulling each other down, I think.
Yeah, which goes back to your point. Like, I think everybody really needs to love them, like learn to love themselves first
Mm-hmm.
before they can take this energy and to like give it to someone else, right?
Definitely.
Like, you really
Definitely.
need to like think it through and really understand yourself and like be understanding of others as well, instead of being really selfish. And sometimes, especially in Hong Kong, I've noticed that there's a lot of relationships where people are hurt, or like people just expect that their other half to like take care of everything, or like just be completely understanding. And it just seems like a more like a one-sided kind of relationship where one person ends up getting really exhausted because, you know, we have to deal with your stuff, but like my giving is not reciprocated on your side.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's also a difference between like helping when you're feeling down or you have like a bump on the road versus it being a continuous cycle. Because it's all right if you need me for a certain thing, I'm more than happy to help. But then if this thing lasts 5, 6, 8, 10 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, when is it a stop, right? I mean, once you get
Yeah.
married, you're kind of, no one, I hope at least, no one gets into marriage thinking, oh, I'm going to get divorced. So like the point is to try and have a successful thing. So in order to have a successful thing that's long lasting, that sets a great example for your future kids, you need to be conscious of one another and their needs, right? And what makes the other
Yeah.
person
And
happy
also
as
like,
well as you.
yeah. And I think like, you know, understanding and having communication is really important, because you can't always assume something from your other half. Like, you always have to communicate, because if there's assumptions or just misunderstanding, there's just a lot of room for like, you
Yeah,
know,
definitely. You have to.
misinterpretation. And that's always the problem in every single relationship or even marriage.
Definitely. I think the best thing to do before marriage is to date for, let's say, 2, 3 years. Get that communication tool. First of all, understand this is a given that you're both single individuals that love themselves, etc., etc. But
Mhm.
then you have this common ground and a safe space for communication. Because the second
Yeah.
you don't communicate, you build scenarios in your head. The
Yeah.
scenarios, the longer you don't communicate, the deeper these scenarios go, the more
Yeah.
embedded in your brain they are. And then you start believing this false reality, which might not represent the actual facts,
Yeah.
because the other person might not be aware of these facts. And so when communication is handled, then you're both on the same page and you can work on it, rather than one
Mhm.
person just going on this loop in their head that just makes it worse and worse. And I get it, some people do feel anxiety or scared or to communicate their voice, but at the same time, if it's comfortable, then it's not, it most likely it's not real. If it's just comfortable,
Mm.
you will have some bumps in the road, you will have
Yeah. And
some.
that's how you,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how you grow and get closer and like build a stronger bond, right? Is to go through little bumps and like just working things out together as a team.
Mhm. Because
And
you
you
know
just really
he's
have,
your best friend and you're like you're each other's best friends.
yeah, exactly.
So it should be like for me, if we get into a bump in the road and we fix it, we should be stronger. Like it should be uh better communication. It will improve our communication, it will improve our love for each other, it'll improve, because love is not like, I believe in soulmates, but I think you have millions. I think you have so many people out there that can be perfect matches. The difference is the level of compatibility.
Yeah.
And
And like
you have
how,
some that are more compatible, some that are less compatible, some are very not compatible. And when I say soulmates, immediately people will think of, associate soulmates with love. But I think that's not right, because love is a direct outcome of time spent together, versus a soulmate is someone, to
mm,
me, that you feel connected to mentally, spiritually, physically, where you're having this conversation and
mhm,
you're both elevated and you feel every second become longer, as cheesy as it sounds, but at the same time it's not, it's kind of short at the same time. And you can have those experiences
mhm,
with people you don't know. Some of them might even be married already, but that doesn't mean that you don't
mhm,
feel that connection, so you're not going to act on it.
mhm.
But at the same time, that's why for me, I think it's all about when you realize that there are countless people for you, You need to take your time figuring out who you are. And then once you're ready, you'll be able to find someone. I'm not saying that there are a lot of people out there, so you have unlimited choices, so do what you want. No, 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 no. No, that's not what I'm getting at. It's just that you can you don't have to worry about not finding someone. You will find someone. Just work on
Yeah,
yourself
I mean,
first, and that's it.
yeah, and I'm really a strong believer in like what energy you give off is what you'll attract. So by like working on yourself, you really need to like be comfortable and be happy with who you are. Like everybody goes through struggles. Like, we all have insecurities. We all have like things that we're going through, but it's setting the right mindset and telling yourself that, whatever you're going through, like you'll come out stronger, you'll be better. And once you have that mindset and you start giving off the right energy, and you start giving off, love and compassion to, it will reciprocate back to you. Like it will just, you're right. Like
Yeah,
that's really
you'll
important because
attract the people that actually care about you. Not even only relationships, even in
yeah,
friendships, you
yeah, like
know?
with everything, because I think for me, like over the past year, like going through like COVID and everything, like the lockdown and like everything, like I've actually had a lot more time to just, calm down, like live slower and just have more time to work on myself. And I really feel that like the change in the energy and like, just giving off better energy and receiving.
Yeah, yeah. You know
It's
what's so
really,
ironic is that COVID has been so tough on the world, but at the same time, I feel like every single person in my circle was like it was beneficial for me.
yeah,
I needed a
everybody,
pause.
yeah, like everybody really needed just to slow down a little bit. And it gave us more time to really reflect on what's important and like noticing that, how we can't travel anymore, whatever. But these aren't like really necessary to keep us going every day, like
Hmm.
there are ways around it.
But
And
to
like,
link it back to marriage, it
mhm,
was very tough for a lot of individuals, and at the same
mhm,
time, it accelerated a lot of relationships. So it's very interesting from a
right.
marriage perspective or a relationship perspective that some marriages ended in divorce. I've heard people spend more time with their wives than they ever did before, or husbands, and
Mhm.
that led to a lot
Yeah.
of friction. And then I've heard a
Mhm.
lot of relationships where it accelerated. Oh, we've been dating 2 months, but all of a sudden we went into lockdown and now we're really close and it's been 6 months and we're happier.
Yeah.
And I know some that even got engaged because of lockdown period.
Yeah,
Um,
same. I've had a lot of friends that got engaged or like decided to get married because they've been spending a lot more time with each other. But at the same time, I've also had some friends who they have just been like they're married, but then
mhm.
because one of them works in another city or another country, that they haven't been seeing each other for a year, and it's really tough on them because marriage is something you just have to see each other,
Yeah,
and
but
they
you can't
haven't seen
just
each
give
other for
up,
over a
right?
year
As
now.
well, it's very
So they've
difficult.
been really relying on
Oh my gosh, a year! I can't
exactly.
even
So
imagine.
what I've been telling my friend is that yeah, right. So I've been just telling her, like it's a challenge, but you guys will both come out like, more bonded than ever because you've been through like a long distance relationship for over a year. Like
Mhm.
nothing could come in your way, basically.
Yeah, and
Like
if you've already crossed the
it takes a
year, why
lot
give
of
up now as well,
effort.
right?
Exactly, exactly. And especially like I guess like in relationship, you guys could so-called take a break or, you know,
Mm,
whatever that works out for you. But in a marriage, like you guys are so committed and you guys have family together, it's super challenging just seeing her like zooming her husband every day, like with her kids. And
mhm.
like there's just it's so much more complex and it's definitely not easy.
Definitely, definitely. But I think,
Marriage.
like
Yeah.
this reminds me of a photo where there are like two miners and they've dug like a deep, deep,
Hmm.
deep, deep hole. And one of them decides
Hmm.
to give up and he's walking back while the other one is still digging. And you could see a very slim, thin layer
Hmm.
towards all the diamonds and gold. So the guy that gave up after 20, 30, 40
Mm.
hours of work decided to quit, while the other guy, or let's say months, not even hours, months of work, one guy decided to give up. And the
Mm.
guy, after all these months, he was 10 minutes away from from gold. And the other guy,
You're
had he
almost
remained the
there.
10 minutes, he was
Exactly.
there. So it's the same with this. They've already crossed a year. They've already done all the
Mm.
challenges. Do not give up, because you're about to reach the better plane or the better level, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that also just takes me to divorces. Why? I feel
Mhm.
like people just get divorced super easily and quickly. And I think there's this common image in the media: you deserve better, you deserve the best, like, leave if you're
Mhm.
not happy, did it. And I think that's so wrong. I don't think one should
Yeah.
give up on a marriage. If you're going to get into a marriage, you try to work through things, you communicate, you attempt it for 2 3 years. If by then, and you did everything you can, and you've tried to understand one another and tried to solve it,
Mhm.
if in that point it doesn't work out, and you truly will be happy without this person, then get the divorce. But don't think from day one, oh, like, I deserve better, oh, I'm unhappy. Unhappiness, in my opinion, is a choice. You can
Yeah.
be happy. Now, if the other person is pulling you down significantly, so, and it's jeopardizing your happiness, then try to work on it 2 3 years. Give him, like, because you're married, this is a commitment you've made. So at least give it a chance to succeed and work on it. I don't know, group therapy, travel together, try new things together, expand your horizons, try to understand one another more. And if then it doesn't work, then go your separate paths, you know?
Yeah. I think one of the big thing on marriage with millennials or just our generation in general is that I think their concept of going into a marriage kind of it's not as big of a commitment compared to the older generation because they know that you can always get a divorce without willing to work on the issue. A lot of them, they just get married like because sometimes it's the moment or whatever. But with what I've noticed is a lot of people just stop willing to work on a marriage with each other is because um there's a lot of distractions constantly going around us.
Hmm. That's true.
What I'm saying
That's
is,
true.
there's social media. Like, let's say if there's like,
But
whoever
also,
whoever is
I
also
think,
getting a divorce, they think that
I think in addition to the
it's just
distractions, you have this instant gratification in our lives. Not only, like, for example, if you want Uber, I can get a car. If you want food, I can get the food delivered. Now, if I want a date, I can just hop on Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, whatever it may be, and get a date. So you get all this instant decisions, and also the illusion of choice. Because you think you have unlimited choices, but you
yeah,
really don't. Your time is finite. So you don't really have unlimited choices.
exactly,
It's like you're Netflix, you're opening Netflix, you have 100 shows and movies, you scroll, you
yeah,
scroll, you scroll, and then you end up going to Friends anyways, right?
exactly.
So like,
It all goes
it's
back to like this pace that like everybody seems to be so like in a rush all the time. Everything needs to be instant. Like we need to like have our food delivered right now. We need to like get a car right now. Whatever. It's just all about that pace that we've been so used to. Like we just want things faster, 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 faster.
Mhm.
So if it doesn't work out, just and we'll get something else.
Yeah.
How we should think about a marriage. Like we
Definitely.
should we
And
should
it scares
really
me because it makes me
like
think of
appreciate
19
our craft and be willing to work on
it makes me think of 1984, because
it.
they act as if, like, the marriage is a unit, and the only purpose of a marriage is to
Mm,
have kids. And I'm afraid that we're
yeah.
heading, or at least not everyone, but at least there's a portion of the population that's heading towards that. A marriage is just security for money and kids. Like, I also know someone, one of my exes, she thought of a
Mhm.
marriage as an not only obligation, but rather as a responsibility and an obligation. So like, kind of, my purpose is not necessarily to be in a marriage for love, but rather to be in a marriage because it works, and it'll be the best for both families, for the kids, for all these things. And to me, that's, like, unfortunate, because what's more important than
Agree.
love? Like, if you're gonna,
Yeah. I
like, you
think
can find someone, be happy, and still maintain everything you want. It's a matter of, like we said, we attract what you want, right? So if you want to be in love, you want to have
mm,
a good family, you want to have a great partner, you can do that, and you can do it all. You just have to have the capacity to love and to put it out there, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's also about just really going for what you want. I think she has too many concerns
Mhm.
or, just things that is not even really related to love and marriage, like
Yeah.
these things it's
Well,
she
it's
just
the
tied
whole
down too
arranged
many.
it's the whole arranged marriage situation between families where you have to live to this construct that society
Exactly.
has
You have
built
to like
for
do
you.
this, that, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And speaking of
Exactly.
arranged marriages, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, for the
I
listeners in the West, it's common for people in the Middle East, India, Asia to have arranged
Yeah,
marriages.
it's
But
pretty common too.
yeah, but the definitions of it change. Even if you come from a good family, it's still in some families expected. Not mine, thankfully, but definitely like
Great
if
here.
I wanted to, it's an option that's presented.
Mhm.
And to explain to you guys, like the modern day arranged marriage for me, I would go to like my mom or my aunt or grandmother and tell her I want to get married. They'll find like someone that fits my personality and whatnot. And then you meet for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times and then, or 10, 20 times. Then you get this engagement period. And the engagement period is basically the dating period. So you're
The
technically
dating
engaged,
period.
but you're dating for like the engagement can be a year, 2, 3, 4, whatever you're both comfortable with. And
Mhm.
then if you call off the engagement, there's no negative stigma about it. It just didn't work out. So that's why it's kind of like dating, but dating with the purpose of we're gonna get married eventually.
But I feel like what the tricky part with the whole engaged dating part is both sides, like like your mom or like your grandmother, they would actively or inactively be kind of
Hmm.
in part of that, like, be in that relationship. It's not something that is really just the two of you working things out,
Yeah.
right?
You're meeting each other's parents
The
like very quickly.
will somehow be involved. Yeah, and I think that really gives out like kind of like this invisible pressure. Like it could be like in your subconscious as well, right? Because you just know that like whatever you do, you got to consider about like the parents. So it's really not like your true, authentic, adventurous self. Oh, let's go on a date. Like let's really be ourselves. It's more like, oh,
Hmm.
what would my family think if I did this, or what would my
Hmm.
family think if I did that? Like, would she, knowing that from whatever family background she came from, like, would she appreciate this or appreciate that? Or like, you don't really get to
Definitely. No,
be
it's a
as
lot of
genuine.
pressure. It's a lot of pressure. You get this
Yeah,
like you said, this invisible pressure on
absolutely.
you to just be to make it work. And also
Yeah,
to accelerate getting to know the person because your families
yeah.
are
And
involved now.
also knowing that, you guys are engaged and we're dating and, we're trying to see if we can meet this end goal of a marriage is also, it's almost kind of like completing a task, just to like
Mhm.
level up in a game.
So I think to some, to a lot, probably it is like a task. But to some, if you really match and you really have like I think it's all about perspective, right? So if you're someone that really wants to get married and the girl really wants to get married, it won't be a task because, oh,
Mhm.
it's like I found someone. So like I don't have anything against it. The only thing I have against it is if the parents come and they're like, okay, it's time, you're X age, you need to get married. Here is like the options. Here are some of the options. I think that's a terrible route. But I think if the person themselves go to their parents, okay, I think I'm ready to meet someone to get married and I want to try out this route. And then you meet a
Yeah,
girl that had the same mentality. And that
exactly.
way it won't look like a task because that's what you both want, right? So in that
Exactly.
context, I'm okay with it. In the context where families come and they're like, you should get,
You got to do it.
yeah, you got to
Yeah.
do it. Like, come on, like dad is turning 70 this year. You need to, it's unfortunate because honestly, like my dad is 68, 69. I would love nothing
Mhm.
more than to give him grandchildren. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I'm probably going to live another 70, 80 years, knock on wood, all things considered. And I don't want to just jump into a marriage just to have kids. I would love to have kids,
Mhm.
but I'm not ready for kids?
I think, but I think what's fortunate with our generation is that with technology, like, having children, like, especially for women, right? Like, right now is probably like the best age, like 25, between 30 is the best age to have children. And, in the old days, like, I probably would have children already considering my age. But what's lucky with our generation is that we have the technology. We could do, we could go into like freezing our
Mid
eggs or embryos or
30s. Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Exactly. And that is still an option, right? So why rush into a marriage if you're not sure yet? So
Mhm.
going back to the whole arranged marriage situation, if I think that it is a suitable route, and I'm okay with it, then yeah, why not? But if that person is getting forced into knowing someone, or if he's getting forced into going on a date with someone that he knew, like deep down knows that he doesn't, want to be with this person, and he's forced to do it, I think that's really sad.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because he needed to like have children at a certain age, or like do something at a certain age.
It's
Like, it's
so
not a
so
race. Everybody goes at a different pace, right?
I think I've mentioned this in a different podcast. I'm not sure, but I believe firmly that every decision in life stems from two things: either fear or love. Those are the only two options for any single thing that you do. You either get up in the morning wanting to tackle your day because you love your day, or because you fear missing out, or you fear
Mm.
losing, or you fear. So you either are in your job because you love your job, or because you fear not having a stable income, or you fear, and all these things. And it's the same thing with marriage. You're either getting
Yeah.
married early because you fear not having kids and what
Mhm.
society's social construct or life cycle decided that you must at this age have two kids or whatever it may be, and have a successful career and all of these things. But in the end of the day, it's what do you love? Are your decisions based on what you love? If it is, then chances are it's going to be successful. If you're getting into a marriage because you fear not having kids at a certain age, or fear not having a wife at a certain age, then you're kind of like shooting yourself in the leg. Now, you can survive potentially and enjoy it and love it and be happy. But at the same time, there is the probability of this marriage failing because you got into it for the wrong reasons. Now, it's not doomed, because you could always work on it, you could always switch your perspectives, you could always try new things, but at the same time you are setting an additional challenge for yourself that you have to go through, which you may or may not overcome. And this is either side, him or
Yeah.
her, right?
Yeah. And that's a tricky thing with marriage too, right? Because there's always two parties involved. So like, let's say one side was okay with, this arranged marriage. Like, he was happy that he found the girl, or, and then what if the girl was not happy? Like, it's tricky because there's two different individuals,
Yeah, and a lot of
and you never really,
variables, like you said,
yeah,
family, distance,
yeah,
XYZ.
exactly. So like, to really balance things out and be well rounded, it's it's not the same formula for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Like, you
And
really need to. So that's why, like, you really need to go back to yourself and like really setting some priorities. Like, knowing what you want,
mhm.
like, and set them in priorities, and like setting a clear kind of mindset for yourself. Because sometimes people rush into marriage in a very unclear mindset, and
Yeah.
a year or two later they completely regret it.
Yeah, you have
And
to be
in
completely
that way,
happy.
you hurt your other half too.
Yeah. You have to just also, like, I think before marriage you just need to have the painful discussions, like you need to have, maybe, where do you see yourself living or not living, or what type of environment rather than a country would you see yourself living in, what type of education would you want for the kids, what type of,
Yeah.
even though you don't have all that figured out yet, you need to discuss it, to even if you don't have answers, at least you understand where the other is coming from and where they might
Yeah,
go.
or like their vision
Exactly. So you need to have a vision.
of
And I
like where
think
to go.
everyone, like, in life, and I think it comes from a lot of different factors as well, because there's, like, people are different. Some could be good socially, some could be not. Some could be good with issues or challenges. Some might not handle challenges well. So you need to also find a partner that complements you and also always
Mhm.
supports you regardless of what's going on, right? Because that's what everyone's looking for. Someone who,
Exactly.
like, loves
And I
them and
think,
supports them unconditionally.
yeah, and I think what's important is also looking for someone where both of you could be a better person because of the other, because of each other. Like
Not
you
only
guys
be a better
could,
person, but at the
it's
same
just so
time,
important.
you
Yeah,
have to move at similar paces. So it doesn't matter if she's more
exactly.
successful or he's more successful. What matters is that you're both growing, and not at the same pace
Hmm.
necessarily, but at similar paces. So one could be more advanced than the other, or growing at an exponential rate, but the other one is not that far behind, or vice versa.
Exactly. And
Like you still have to. She or he can't be in your rear mirror. You have to be next to one another,
mm,
or at least close to one another, where you're both growing. You're both, because then
yeah,
otherwise the other partner will feel like a drag, or like they're not doing much. They're pulling you down. So you also have to
yeah,
find someone. You can't, for example, have, I don't know, like someone who's like a venture capitalist and all of that, and then someone who draws for fun. You know,
hmm,
like
yeah,
you need to. And if she draws for fun, is she reading a lot? Is she learning a lot? Is she doing something? And vice versa. It's like you have to be in parallel. And
yeah,
like, for example, my mom was a housewife, and my dad did a lot of different roles, but my mom was a huge intellectual. So she read a lot. She knows a lot about history, politics, anthropology, and so many different things. So she was still evolving, and at the same time
yeah,
she raised us with a lot of incredible morals and a lot of love. So I think that you don't necessarily have to have a career and be professionally in your career, but at the same time
yeah,
grow. Like, what I'm trying to say is that growth isn't only your professional career. There's
yeah.
growth that can
It's also
happen.
about like filling, just finding something to like to make yourself. How do I say this? Like in just to keep yourself thinking and keep yourself in like just you're always learning. That's a
Well,
process of
and
life,
at the
right?
same time, if you don't have that, then the only thing you're going to look forward to is your partner. And that's a lot of pressure again. Because the only thing, if your life is all about your partner, then you don't have the time. Like for me, my kids, in the future, I'm going to spend a lot of time with them. Hopefully, my wife will too. But at the same time, I want to send my kids to like my best friend's house so they meet their kids. And so we can do our
Yeah,
thing as well. And then I
yeah,
want them to be, because then they'll learn also social experiences. They'll be in social settings more. They'll be out of their comfort zones. Mom and dad are not there 24/7. I mean, we are, but at the same time, you
you gotta
can
learn.
be,
Yeah, you
like
can't be doing your own
push the
thing.
bird out of the nest. But I mean, I'm
Yeah,
still there watching the bird. But at the
yeah,
same time, it's got to be,
I agree.
something where your entire life is not just your kids. Your entire life is not just you, or looking for the other
Yeah,
partner, but rather a balance.
I
You
think we should
need.
have to invest our time and energy into different. I know
Well, it's
what I'm
okay.
saying is like we can't just be so focused in like one area in life. Like we need to divert our energy or
Hmm.
invest them into like different things to have different things going
Definitely.
on. So it makes it easier for us to get along with our partner or even like running a family. You can't just like
Hmm.
constantly be staring at your kid.
Yeah.
Like that would also be really like mentally unhealthy for you
Yeah.
and your children, right?
Hmm. And that's, by
Yeah,
the way,
so I think
the key to
marriage is
living longer as well, besides, like eating healthy and all these things, is that you need to pick new things. Because the more things you pick, the more things you
yeah,
try, the more things you learn, the more you can inspire, the more you can elevate, the more you can contribute to the world, the longer you
stimulate
live,
your brain.
the more
Yeah,
your brain will evolve. The
yeah, I think
second your brain goes inactive and you're not doing anything new and you're not challenging yourself, your body decays, you know?
exactly.
Yeah. So I
And that
think
also
it's.
goes back to like waking up and just knowing that there's something new for you to like look forward to today, or like something you're
Mhm.
trying that's new, or something exciting that you're excited about. Because
Definitely.
if not, like your mentality would not be healthy, and eventually
Mhm.
that would
This, I
then you
think
would
this
spread.
this conversation is a good segue to the importance of space in a relationship slash marriage. The importance not in long
Yeah,
periods of
definitely.
space, but definitely because now I think like I read this thing where it's like previously you used to go to work and you don't hear from your partner until they're back and you get to miss them. But now you're texting, you're snapping, you're Instagramming, you're posting, you're talking all the time. You don't have the opportunity to actually miss the person you're with. So also giving some space, like, oh man, like you don't have to do all your activities together. Give the other partner room to do some of the things on their own and you do some of the things on your own.
Breathing space.
Breathing space, exactly. It's healthy, it's good. You get to spend time with your
Yeah.
friends, you get to spend time doing some things that you might not be, you know, she might be into, I don't know, pottery and I'm not, and whatever it may be. Then you have these things that you're doing on your own and then you come and you share it in the end, you know, like you talk about it and it's something
Yeah.
good, you know. But I think a lot of people are
Yeah, I
like,
think that's really important. Yeah, if I have to be with someone like personally, if I have to be with someone like 24/7, like without my own space, like I would feel really suffocating.
mhm.
Like I love
For
having
for
like
for me,
I,
for me, I would feel, to be honest, I wouldn't feel suffocated during, but once they
mhm,
leave, I'll realize, oh shit, I didn't have me time. So once they
yeah,
leave, I realize something is missing. Like I need to do
you're
some
like
things in my
finally I'm
own.
alone.
You know,
Yeah.
I completely relate to this because I really, really, really deeply value my alone time as well. And
Yeah, I
that
think
leads me also
everybody
to
needs
jealousy. Jealousy, there is some healthy jealousy, but there is also like terrible jealousy and that when it gets to controlling as well, that's like the other person does not belong to you. They choose to be with you.
yeah, there's it's a very delicate line between the healthy kind of jealousy and the toxic kind of jealousy. It's a
Hmm.
very delicate like once you
Hmm.
crossed it, it just
So
spirals
the
into
way
this
the way I would define
unhealthy.
it, a healthy jealousy is a jealousy that does not make you think twice about the other person's intentions, and it's just
Yeah,
something cute like, oh, I'm a little bit jealous, you know. But
yeah,
the
or like
toxic
"Hey, thank you,"
jealousy,
you know?
yeah, or like, oh, should I be like, you know, like a joke, but that's it. But like if it's
Yeah,
it gets
exactly.
toxic when you're actually thinking in your mind, oh, this person's talking to her, oh, they're doing this, or they're doing that. Oh, what is she,
Yeah,
what's the
and
intention behind every action? And then it becomes toxic. And then it becomes detrimental and
yeah,
it creates a lack of trust, which will create a rift between the two. So
it
definitely it
always
can.
starts with yeah.
Hmm.
And the thing with our generation too, like with social media, it's a lot easier to go into this kind of toxic jealousy. It's like, oh, like, why did you follow this girl or why did you like her
Hmm.
photos? You know, in the older generation, like these things don't exist. So that's out
Hmm.
of the question. But for us,
You
it's like,
know, it's
oh,
crazy
why?
to me.
Why?
I've never in my life looked what people are because they have the what you like and your notifications, and then you
Yeah.
have what people like and follow, right? I have never,
Yeah.
not even once, checked it out.
Mhm.
Like I only know
Like
it
I know about
exists,
it.
but I never
Yeah.
like scroll down, whether I was in a relationship or not. I don't
Yeah. I
like
think it's really
care.
unhealthy because for me, like in my past relationship, I've had like my other half like check my phone.
Mm.
And like that was something that really not that I had anything to hide, but it's just kind of like
It's an invasion of privacy. Like,
exactly.
do
It's
you
like I
not
would not
trust
do
me?
that to you. Like I
Yeah.
respect your space. Like I would not do that to you. Why
Hmm.
would you do this to me?
Definitely. And
Yeah, like
if he felt the need to check your phone, then there is an
yeah,
underlying issue that needs to be
yeah,
tackled. Because if you feel the need, then
exactly. Like
either
why don't you confront
he's
me about the
insecure,
issue, right?
or either he's insecure, or you're giving out some energy or some red flags which need to be discussed. So it could be either or, right?
Exactly.
So
Could be an
regardless, it needs to
open
be
discussion.
tackled. Hmm.
Yeah. So like when I found out, like I was so angry in a way that like first, why did you do this? This is an invasion of privacy. Second, if
Hmm.
there is any issues, like we could have just openly talked about it.
Like
Like
this just
why did you have
reminds
to
me,
go that
Ingrid,
kind of
imagine I was at a lounge having like sushi and drinks and whatnot, and this guy showed up with his girlfriend, and they all stepped out to smoke cigarettes. So I stepped out with them because the entire table stepped to smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke, but I stepped outside. So we're having a conversation, and they're all talking, and by chance this girl is next to me, so me and her end up having a conversation. And I don't know, we're talking about some random bullshit, like, I
like a
don't know,
small talk.
economics, history, whatever. The
Yeah.
guy comes and punches me in the face. He's like, "What are you doing talking to her?" Like, punches me twice. And the first time he punched me, I'm like, "Dude,
Bro,
chill.
relax.
I don't
Yeah.
know you. I don't care about you
Yeah.
nor her. I'm here to have fun with friends. I don't want to fight." And he punched me again. And then it goes to show that, like, but I know for a fact that she's given him vibes that are not like
Maybe.
trustworthy.
Yeah.
Because she was
Mm.
hitting on my friend actually earlier. So like you could tell that okay, there's a
Yeah.
level of insecurity and this is not really a healthy relationship. But the
Yeah.
fact that that person felt the need to
Yeah.
punch me for just having a conversation with someone, a very innocent platonic
That
one.
was over the line.
Exactly. So it shows you how some people
Yeah.
can be very like in a toxic relationship, but they're addicted to
Yeah.
that toxicity and it just doesn't work. It doesn't.
Yeah. I think with people who are like overreactive, they once they're in a toxic relationship, they kind of feed off of it, you know. They
Mhm.
feel like, oh, like if everything's going out well, like something is definitely wrong. Like I need to
Yeah.
go find something, like something's
Well,
wrong. And
there is
that
also a
mindset
portion
is
of
very
people
wrong.
as well. There's a portion of people that have dysfunctional love, where to show love you have to fight. To show love you have to, like, I've met people like this,
Mm,
you know,
right,
and it's not
right.
healthy and it's not right. Their definition of love and how you show care is just not
Yeah.
right.
I think how they think they express their love is it's wrong.
Mhm.
Like
Definitely.
I don't think you should hit people or
Or even abuse
throw a
them,
punch. Like
like
that's
with your
definitely not right.
even if it's not
Even in like
physical.
normal.
Yeah, even mental stuff, right? Like you shouldn't be, especially if you're with
Yeah,
someone,
exactly.
like you
Yeah,
need to, like, I would never want to hurt someone I'm with. Like I want to elevate them, you know? They're who I love, they're who I'll,
exactly.
share my happiness with. So why would I ever want to pull that person down for any reason or form, right? It doesn't make
Exactly.
sense. Um, I think we've
Pretty.
covered a lot. What about my dad always tells me being in a steady
Mhm,
relationship or like a marriage is gonna cause stability in your life, which you need at this age
mhm,
because you need to focus on your work. So my reaction to this is I can be stable on my own. At the same time, I agree with you. This marriage or a steady relationship does create more stability and
mhm,
focus. But at the same time,
mhm.
should it be jumped to marriage immediately? I think it's normal to have just a long-term relationship where it could turn to marriage, it could not, but at the same time, you're both happy, you're both. That's another thing. A lot of people like get into relationships and are like, the goal has to be marriage, otherwise it's a waste of our times. I think that's wrong mentality because it could evolve to becoming something like a marriage. I might not see you being my wife today, but we're both growing, we're both happy, we're both learning from one another. It works right now. It could potentially work in the
Mhm.
future, but why not just see where it goes, right? What are your opinions on that? Because
Yeah,
I think this
I
is a
think
very like
people are
tricky
like,
subject.
yeah, it is really tricky because I think every parent wants to have like a fixed timeline for their kid. It's
Mhm.
really like common to like she goes to college, she's done, she goes into work, blah, blah, blah. But what's important that we should really think about is like love, relationships, marriage, these things. There's no like one universal formula for everyone.
Mhm. True.
Like not all relationships guarantees stability, right? Sometimes you
Mhm.
get into a relationship and it's even crazier than,
Yeah, big
you know,
distraction. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All you want to do
big
is just,
distraction. Like
yeah.
do their thing. But I think we really need to tell ourselves that we don't need to compare ourselves or our relationship with, our other half with other relationships because every
Mhm.
relationship is different. and
Definitely.
every individual is different. So
Mhm.
the relationship between me and my other half could be so different from the other ones that, like,
Yeah,
why do I
you
need
can't
to,
compare. You can't compare for sure.
yeah, like, why do I have to compare? Or is this my definition of stability,
Mhm.
or what? Like, it, we just need to be more free flow.
Mhm.
I think, like, we just need to be more free to, like,
And
really feel things
I
out.
think
'Cause I
that
think when you,
answers the parents and the stability. But what do you think of getting into a relationship where you're together but you don't see an end goal, but you're together? Like, do you need to see an end goal, or can you just be in a relationship, or is it a
that's
waste
a
of
good
time?
question. Sorry.
Like, would you consider it a waste of time, or would you consider it, no, we're happy now,
I
that's all that
okay.
matters?
Okay. I think for me, like, personally as an individual, I don't think any relationship is ever a waste of time, because you
Mhm.
fall in love with someone. Like, there's definitely an attraction, and if you come out of it doesn't work out. Like, it definitely was not a waste of time, because you found out that it
Mhm.
didn't work out, right? Like, you shouldn't be like, oh, that was such a waste of time, or whatever. It should more be more or less like, oh, like, we've had a good time together and it
Mhm.
didn't work out,
I
but
agree.
let's
I
thank you
think
next, right?
I think that, like, every person comes into your life for
So
a purpose, and you
yeah,
teach each other
like,
things,
good or
and you
bad.
learn, you learn not only from each other, but you learn more about yourself when you're with someone. You see different sides of yourself
Exactly.
that you didn't know existed.
Yeah, because everybody could just, like, could help you discover something about yourself.
Hmm.
So going back to the question, I don't think dating without an end goal is a bad thing, because
So you shouldn't just end it
like,
because you don't see a future.
yeah, I don't think so, because you, first of all, you never know what happens in the future. Like,
Hmm. That's true.
anything could happen. Number two is, you never know. People are always changing, like,
Hmm.
whether you know it or not. Like,
Hmm.
maybe, a few years later, like, you guys end up together, or if it
That's true.
doesn't,
That's true.
you've definitely
Or
seen
maybe if it
usually
doesn't, you
coming
break
out of
up,
it.
but then 3, 4, 5 years later, maybe you'll get back together. Maybe you don't see each other
Exactly, like,
right now, but once you grow
yeah,
together, let each other go,
mhm,
and then maybe in the future you can come back and pick up where you left off.
yeah,
You
pick
know?
up. And I think with the pressure of having an end goal, or, like, oh, like, we've got to date for like 3 years and then we'll get married, or just having an end goal in general is always, it's always kind of like a pressure
And
for
it goes
both of
back to what I
the
said
individuals.
earlier. A love is selfless giving. Now you're giving, but you
Yeah,
want to take that marriage in 3 years. So it's no longer selfless.
yeah,
So it cancels
exactly.
out the
And
love.
also, like, it cancels out the love. And I always feel like marriage is also this concept that we've been feeding, and, like, we've been, taught since we were kids, that it's always, oh, the end goal is, you get married, you have kids, you have a happy family. But then no one ever asks, like, what's next, right? Like, what's
Mhm.
next after a marriage?
It's always, and especially in Hollywood, you end when they get married, or you end when they start, you know.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
why one of my favorite movies is About Time, because it starts off,
mm,
I don't know if you've seen it, but a little bit of a spoiler, not too much of a spoiler, but
mhm,
the first 20 minutes, it feels like a rom com. And they're like getting to
mhm,
know each other and everything. But after 20, 25 minutes, they get married. So literally 20 minutes into the movie, they're married. And you're like, wait, what?
yeah,
Like, I remember I was watching it with someone and they're like, shouldn't the movie end now? You know? But then the movie
yeah,
transforms from a romantic comedy to a story about life. So then
yeah,
all of a sudden you really dive deeper into, like, there's so much more than just,
exactly,
you know, being in love and getting married. There's
yeah,
what comes after, which is
exactly,
work,
and
love, sadness, happiness, joy,
mhm,
thrilling, excitement. Like, there's so much more, and the positives, in my opinion, outweigh the cons.
yeah,
And it's not going to be easy, but nothing great is easy. You want to get
exactly. And I think,
successful, you have
like,
to put in the effort. You wanna get a marriage successful, you have to put in the effort. You want to get your body that you want, you have to put in effort. Everything in life is that. You have to give to
yeah,
get.
it's what you input is what you output.
Mhm.
But I think what's what's tricky is because everyone has such a huge expectation of, marriage. Like, okay, I've got it. I'm married.
Mhm.
And then it starts hitting you. It's like, what's next? Like, I'm still living day by day. Like, but what should I focus on now? Like, now that like I've hit this marriage target. But
Mhm.
what they don't understand is, married or not, it's always about managing your relationship with this person who is also a living person who could
Well, this
also
person
be
and
evolving and
also
changing.
this person and the dynamic of you together in social settings. Because
Yeah,
you
it's
gotta
always
also, you're gonna have like the business dinners, you're gonna have the outings, you're gonna have the parties, you're gonna have the chill nights, you're gonna have the traveling with friends. So the dynamic has to work not only with you, but rather in order for it to thrive and be completely happy, you need to work well together in all these
yeah.
angles.
And I also
You know?
think you have to you have to be able to play different roles as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes, we have a chill night, so we're just, chilling out, we're the chill husband and wife. But
Mm-hmm.
when we go into business dinners, like you always have to like have your partner's back, like
Mm-hmm.
definitely there's going to be pressure or like goals that you want to hit. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just have to be more well-rounded for your other half. You can't always be that lazy chill out girlfriend who just happens to be at the
Definitely.
business dinner getting drunk. Like you just also need to understand like what he's trying to do, like what are the dynamics with the other business partners, and like it's a lot of different roles and like
Mm-hmm.
understanding and like being changing or like just adapting into that environment and being what's the best partner your other half could need at that moment
Exactly. It's
is
very
really,
complex.
really, really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But at the same time, it's not impossible to reach, especially if that's why it's very crucial when you pick your wife that she or husband that she fits all these roles that you want to play her out, you know?
Mhm. And that you won't know until you really spend enough time and
Hmm.
been through a lot of things with the other half. So don't always date with just and having being married in mind, because you never
Agreed,
know.
agreed. And I think
Yeah,
like
you never know.
there's a portion of the population that will tell you, but I'm with someone and I know they're not gonna be my husband or wife, then
Mhm.
I'm forbidding myself from meeting my actual husband or wife by being with this person. My argument to this is that I'm honestly it's a matter of faith. I believe that life is for me, not against me. And the best possible scenario at any given moment is right now, today. So if I choose to be with this person for longer, then this is the
Yeah,
best situation for me. There is no meeting others because right now I'm
exactly.
with this person and therefore this is what's best for me. And that's why it's a matter of faith,
Exactly.
you know? I can't put it any
Yeah.
other way. I
Mhm.
can't tell you that it's proven. I can't tell you that like it's this is my belief that for
Yeah.
example if something was meant to happen it's gonna happen, so I don't need to go out of my way to end something that's
Yeah.
beautiful that I'm learning from, that I'm enjoying my time with, in order to see some potential. Like what is it, a bird in your hand is
Yeah.
better than two on the tree, you know.
Exactly. I think that goes all the way back to like faith and believing what, like you said, and also just stop being so doubtful
Yeah.
in
Trust
life.
your gut. People don't listen to their guts anymore. Trust your gut. My gut changed my
Yeah, trust your
life.
gut. I feel like gut feelings are so accurate. I'm not even kidding. Like
Yeah,
whatever
intuition
you
is
feel,
real.
you
Just
yeah,
follow your
like
intuition.
just believe. Yeah, and I
And
think
even if it ends you in a shitty place, then you needed to go through that. So you
mm,
need to have some lessons. There was something disguised in
yeah, like
that negative
no one's life
experience.
is always like smooth sailing. Never.
Yeah, you
People
have
go
to
through
understand it's cycles, including marriages as well. It's all cycles, right? You have the good times, you have the bad times, you have the stressful times. You need someone to support you through it all and
exactly.
not give up just because shit hit the fan.
Yeah, I think people are, they're always trying to find shortcuts to like avoid, but sometimes you just need to go through the ups and downs. Like you just can't always be smooth sailing. It doesn't work that way. And just, sometimes finding shortcuts, you might end up hurting yourself even more.
Definitely. I completely agree. And I think that I think we've tackled a lot of like good points in this conversation. We went through a lot. I'm very happy.
Yeah, we actually went through a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. I think it's people need to be conscious, people need to be aware. And if you're listening to this and you feel lost, don't worry, it's gonna get better. And if you feel like you're not happy with your partner, communicate. Don't be afraid to tell them, hey, I'm not
Yeah.
happy. This is what I'm feeling. This is why I think I'm feeling it. How can we fix this? Because it's not nice to just give up on someone you've spent time with. Give it an opportunity, give it a chance, two, three, four, five. If it doesn't work in the end, then you've given it your best shot, and then there's nothing wrong with calling it quits if you've given it your all. And just because it takes, again,
Exactly.
it takes two people giving it their alls. It doesn't take just one. So you can try and try and try, but at some point, then it might be best. And also, a lot of people would be afraid of leaving, but you leaving might, after you've tried, again, emphasis, after you've tried your best, you leaving might be the catalyst that gets the other person to change. Maybe they got so comfortable in the relationship that they didn't want to change, that even if they wanted to change, they're just so relaxed and comfortable that it's hard to get out of that cycle. So when you leave, that's what's going to shake their world and force them to change to the better. So maybe even you leaving is to the best for the person you love, which is ironic, but because they just got too comfortable, and comfort is a beast, you know?
It's so complex, you know. But I think honestly, communication is the number one most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
also like perspectives too, right? Because sometimes you just so focused seeing in your own perspective that you neglect your other half's perspective. And just having that communication on different perspective already might have solved a lot of problems.
Agreed. Agreed. There's always two sides to the coin.
Exactly. And just finding that perfect, delicate balance that works out for you and your other half. It's
definitely,
always
and it'll be beautiful once you achieve that balance, and once you achieve that level, you guys will be so tremendously happy. No one can, or nothing can really shake you when you're in that mindset.
Always a learning process.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So if you're gonna take anything, listeners, don't give up. Communicate. Never close the door to love. Just jump in, whether there's an end or not.
Keep an open mind. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't always pressure yourself
Definitely
to like reach certain goals or anything, because you never know what happens, you know. Be happy. Go with the flow. With the flow.
Just ride the wave. Just ride the wave.
Ride the wave.
Don't resist. Don't resist. If you resist, you're gonna eat shit.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Just like go with the flow is most important, and follow your instincts and your gut feelings.
Definitely.
And do whatever makes you happy, because I think, without hurting other people, of course, but like,
definitely,
I think at the end of the day, you just want to be happy. And, you know, in a situation where you don't hurt other people, I don't see why. Just go with your gut feeling.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Definitely.
Don't overthink it, because sometimes like the answer's right in front of you, but you start thinking all these different like, you know, outcomes or possibilities that it could blur you or change you from, you know, your initial person.
And look at your grass. The grass is always greener elsewhere. Work on your own grass. Don't look at other people's grass. Just focus on you. Focus on your relationship.
You don't need to compare. It's always, everyone is at their own path. Like your path is different from my path. Like everybody's going different paces. Move at a pace where you're happy, and you will be happy, and then you will attract good energy.
And there you go. It's simple. There you go. Ingrid with the secrets to the universe.
Well, I think you summarized it.
That's a good summary. If you've listened this far, thank you. Please like, subscribe, and give my friend Ingrid some love. I'll tag her Instagram. And thank you for coming. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you for having me. That was a good conversation.
It was.